the West Coast when the Chinese president, Xi Jinping, arrived. Things are less than friendly with China these days on a commercial level. Everything from cyber attacks originating in that country to forced technology transfers. And you were there having to deliver the bad news, basically business complaints. How did that go over?
It was an important conversation that needed to be had, and an important lead into the President Xi's visit here to Washington, which was to say, look, you're the second largest economy in the world, and it's extraordinary what you've accomplished. You know, 600 million people out of poverty into the middle class, amazing. But you've done that predominantly on exporting goods around the world. And the world economy can no longer absorb your excess capacity. And so the formula that's gotten you here needs to change. And that's was one part of the message. Another part of the message was, you know, that you can't keep stealing things through cybersecurity.
And how'd you put that to him exactly?
Well, you know, it was probably more artfully than I just did, but basically, you know, that we have to have you have to respect intellectual property, and that if you are becoming a first world innovator as an economy, and your companies want intellectual property protection. So this is not actions you're taking because it's good for the US businesses, but this is about your economy, and so that going from where it is to where it needs to be as the second largest economy in the world. And that was really the framing of the conversation, which is you're at a pivot point as a leading player in the global economy. And I think together we're about 35% of the world's GDP, and we're about 1.6 billion people. And so as leaders in the world's economy, there are ways to behave in ways that are not good or conducive for global growth and global prosperity. And so that was really the framing that then allowed me to talk about, look, some of your laws that you're putting in place and the way that you're using them, whether it's your national security law or your anti-monopoly law or your NGO law, you know, is inconsistent with the kind of role that you want to play in the global economy.
How did he respond to you?
Well, it was interesting. They were, both Madam Peng and President Xi were always very cordial to me, and but the policy conversation was really, it occurs at two levels, through speeches and then through speaking with his advisors. And his advisors were forthcoming, and in fact, on the topic of intellectual property protection, took me aside and said, look, we get it. We have to address this.
Really?
And, you know, now it wasn't like they said, oh, we agree 100% with everything that you've said, but there were certain areas where and the final message that I gave was, look, this is not about written outcomes from a visit. This is going to be really about your actions. Yeah. And we're going to be paying attention to your actions. So it was an important message, I think, that needed to be delivered and set the stage for President Xi's visit then here to Washington.